Hello and welcome to this video and welcome to my channel. I'm Shelby and yes, there are jingle bells on my sweater. So I'm realizing that it might be a little noisy to wear for filming, but we're gonna commit anyway. I figured my Christmas tree sweater was acceptable for filming this video because this is my 2021 wrap up. As I'm assuming many people do, I just wanted to do a quick little recap of some of my favorite or most surprising music discoveries that I have made this past year. So I have three categories that I am going to be breaking down. One is my favorite albums from 2021 that were released in 2021. Some of my favorite singles that were released in 2021. And then finally, I'm going to talk about a few things or just artists or albums or songs that were not released in 2021 that were released in the past, but I had only discovered this year and just absolutely love. I didn't want to make this video too long and talk about every single thing that I loved because seriously, there was just a lot of good things I found this year. So I kept each category at about 3 or 4 albums or songs to talk about. So I wanted to be as concise as possible. Let's go ahead and start with some of my favorite albums of 2021. Now, once again, I did not list these as in like number 1, number 2, but more so these are just my top 4 albums that I really enjoyed the most that were released in 2021. So we're just going to go ahead and start with an album that was released really not that long ago, and that is Adele's 30. This album, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised by how much I loved this album, but I was really surprised by how much I loved this album. And I think it's because Adele had a lot of weight on her shoulders. Like, everyone had absurdly high expectations, and I get nervous when that happens because that's just not fair to put on anyone. And I've always enjoyed Adele's voice and Adele's music. I mean, as many people do, but I don't think I have loved one of her albums as much as I have loved 30. I don't know what it is about it other than I think vocally she sounds better than ever on 30. And I think lyrically it is a very raw and honest album and perspective of someone going through a lot of lost love and discovering themselves. I mean, it was a very raw, emotional album, but then musically, it was just so classy, like so classy musically, very timeless sound happening, but it didn't feel like she was impersonating music of the past. It just felt so authentic. It's just quality music, and I have been listening to it pretty much nonstop ever since it was released. On a totally different spectrum of an album that was also released in November, I have been obsessed with An Evening with Silk Sonic by Silk Sonic, aka Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. I knew I would love this album. I had been waiting ever since Leave the Door Open was released, and then Skate, and then Smoking Out the Window. I knew I was going to love it. That wasn't even a question. But when I heard it, I just was so pleased because it's only 9 songs long, but it's definitely a quality over quantity situation. I love the commitment to 70s funk. I adore the lyrics because they are hysterical, but they're clever. And I think some people, or I saw some critics that I feel like were, I don't know, I feel like they kind of like stuck their nose up at the album a little bit. And it kind of made me mad because I think they're missing the point. You know, I did see some reviews that were like, they could have done so much more, or it seems too comical. But I'm like, no. You are literally missing the entire point. They said that this was an album they made out of like fun and love. They did this as like a passion project, and they still pushed each other musically. That's the thing. Coming together, they were having fun, but still pushing one another to create something they were proud of. And part of that was the persona. I mean, they wanted drama, R&B, funk. Like, that was the goal, and that's what they produce. And it's magic. I love the layer of like cheeky, funny lyrics, but still just such good music production and vocals to go with it. Like, it's literally a dream combination for me. Next album is one that definitely surprised me, and that is Call Me If You Get Lost by Tyler, the Creator. What I love about Call Me If You Get Lost is that I've listened to Tyler, the Creator's 2 of his other albums, and 2 or 3, definitely 2, maybe 3, I can't remember right now, but each album you get a little something different from him. He's got many layers and many sides, and this one was staying in the hip hop lane, but it kept me on my toes. And that's what I love about his music in general. It definitely keeps you on your toes, not only lyrically, but the production is just absurd on every song, like absurd. And there will be certain things maybe that you notice consistencies in each of the songs, but there's also just so much variation and variety. I mean, seriously, I think just front to back, it's such a solid album with so many good lyrics, and just it's an incredible hip hop album. But one song that definitely kind of stands out to me, and I'm sure it stands out to a lot of people, and that is Sweet, I Thought You Wanted to Dance. That one's just it kind of does stick out a little bit on the album for a variety of reasons, but I love that song is on there, and it's very much so a storytelling song. In general, I just enjoy that album a lot, and it surprised me in the best way when I heard it for the first time. The last album I want to talk about that really, really surprised me this year was from Halsey, and that is If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. I genuinely believe that this Halsey album is the truest form of Halsey we've seen yet. I adored the production on this album. Like, there was just so much kind of grunge rock happening, or just straight rock, and it was just giving a flavor and a side of Halsey that genuinely I have not heard in their music yet. But I will say, I have not listened to all of Halsey's albums, but from what I'm gathering, what I've seen online, and from what Halsey has said, is that this album is in a different lane from their other albums. Some of the songs that I listen to the most are Darling and 1121. If I Am Not a Woman, I Am a God is an incredible power song that as soon as I heard it, I knew it was going to be the single from that album. But front to back, it's just a wonderful album, and it had so much drama and theatrics, and it took me on an incredible emotional journey. And I just genuinely think it is such quality art, and I was just absolutely thrilled to hear it. And also vocally, I have always thought that Halsey has insanely great vocals. I absolutely adore the tone of their voice and the rasp. So it all just came together so perfectly. So now I want to talk about 3 of my favorite singles that were released in 2021. The first single I absolutely have to talk about because my Spotify Wrapped told me that this song I'm going to talk about was my most played song of 2021. And that is Butter by BTS. I am obsessed with Butter, clearly. It was my most played song. And I think it was my most played song because it is pop goodness. It is the best form of like boy band pop, which I'll be honest, BTS's music, they do not really go into straight boy band pop. They definitely agreed and chose to do that song with the intent of it being a happy pop radio song. I mean, it's all in English too. I mean, that's exactly what the goal of the song was just to be a happy summer bop. And that's exactly what it is. And I can't get enough of it. It makes me incredibly happy. I always want to dance when I hear it. It's so easy to sing along to. I love that they're referring to being smooth like butter. Who doesn't love butter? It was just such a happy song. And I think in 2021, especially, I needed that in my life. We're all having pandemic fatigue, and you just needed that good uplifting number. And it was my perfect driving song. I listened to it a lot driving and working out, hence why it probably was my number one song of 2021. Another song that I listened to a ton was by Maneskin, and that is Ziti e Bioni. And I still don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but it is just a wonderful rocker. Fast-paced, up-tempo rocker, and the lyrics are in Italian, which I actually love listening to Damiano, the lead singer of Maneskin, sing in Italian. I think rock in Italian and also the tone of his voice and the raspiness, it just sounds incredible together. That song is a wonderful pump-up song, and it's, if I remember, the translated lyrics are pretty much just talking about like kind of we're going to do what we want to do. It's kind of like a, be who you are sort of thing, stand your ground. And I love a solid rock moment. I've always loved that for years and years. And in general, Maneskin has been one of my favorite 2021 discoveries. In general, I did not know who they were until this year, and I hope to see them for a very long time on the music scene because I adore everything they're doing. And finally, a single that I've listened to so much that is also up-tempo is Take My Breath by The Weeknd. I am so excited to hear what The Weeknd's next album is going to sound like. And that's for a variety of reasons, but I especially became excited after hearing Take My Breath because once again, apparently I loved all of the up-tempo singles this year because it's very up-tempo. I love the production on it so much, and The Weeknd sounds fabulous singing it as always. And I love all of the layered vocals going on. It's just a really catchy song that I think was like kind of the perfect comeback of, hey, a new era is coming and this is what you can expect. It's just got me very excited to see what's to come from him. Like, I'm pumped and I'm ready. Whenever you are, I'm ready. You can release the music. Go for it. I dare you. Okay, the last category I'm going to talk about is my genuine discoveries of 2021 that weren't released in 2021, but like the oldies but goodies. So the first album, this album was released in 2020, and I had only heard of this artist in 2021 and heard of the album this past year, and that is Rina Sawayama's album, Sawayama. Wow. Rina Sawayama is going to be an absolute superstar. At least that's what I hope, because that album, Sawayama, was one of the most unique things musically I have heard in a very, very, very long time. And once again, ever since I listened to it, which I made a YouTube video for, I have been listening to it so much since then. Her voice is astounding. I love how powerful her vocals are, and she has a very rich tone, but also the mixing of genres on that album was a combination I've never listened to before. I'm talking like metal rock combined with Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, early 2K kind of pop queen sound. It was the most bizarre combination, but it just worked so well, and it's just so uniquely hers, and I adore it. And I am so excited that I discovered that album this past year, and I am very excited to see what is to come for her in her career. Another surprise album that I really loved and have listened to a fair amount since I heard it the first time is Kendrick Lamar's Good Kid, Mad City. So I listened to Pimp a Butterfly first, and that is just an incredibly dense album. It's just very artistic. And after listening to Pimp a Butterfly, I really didn't know if Good Kid, Mad City was going to be like to Pimp a Butterfly, or if it was going to be different. And what I discovered was it was different in the sense that it was a lot more digestible on the first listen, and it definitely was just talking about his life growing up in Compton and all of the kind of troubles and pain that came with it. I think what has really drawn me into Good Kid, Mad City is the fact that I love a good storytelling album, and all of the songs were telling a very clear story, but also I really enjoyed the production and just his like flows, and his rapping in general is just so great to listen to. And it's hard to explain, but that one really just kind of latched on to me for a hip hop album, and I have enjoyed listening to it a fair amount since I listened to it for the first time. An early 2021 discovery for me was another album from a few years ago, and that is Awaken My Love by Childish Gambino. I have nothing much to say other than Donald Glover does so much with his voice. Like, he uses his voice as an instrument to the absolute extreme, which I adore. I loved all the different genre influences on that album, and there were so many musical surprises throughout the songs that I just loved so much, and wonderful lyrics. I really love that entire album as a whole. That was I think it was the early part of 2021. I listened to that album for the first time, and I've really just adored it ever since. Like, I'm so mad at myself for not discovering that one sooner. This is a very vague thing I'm going to say. It's not a particular album, but one of my top discoveries 2021, I mentioned them already, and that is just pretty much anything by BTS. I first got exposed to BTS properly at the end of 2020, and then from there, I just kind of ran and continued to discover their music on my own time, and I have become such a fan of their music. There's so much variety in their catalog, and I think that's why I find myself continuing to dig and listen, because with there being 7 members and, you know, different members producing and writing lyrics and contributing, you get all sorts of different sounds happening and all different sorts of genre influences, and I just love that. Honestly, I don't care who you are. I can promise you, regardless of the type of music you're into, if you were to listen and go through their music, you would find, maybe other than if you listened to maybe country music, if you listen to pretty much anything else, you could probably find a song in their catalog that you would like, because they cover a wide range in areas of music between all 7 members. So there it is. That is my 2021 music wrap up. It's been a very fun year of music. And like I said, there were a lot of things I discovered and really loved this year that I didn't include on this list. But in general, there was just a lot of great discovering of music. And I have to thank you all for that, because so much of the music I have found in the last almost 2 years now that I've had my channel has been from you watching and recommending and suggesting things to me that I didn't even know, I don't want to say even existed, but maybe just things that I forgot about, and you bring it to my attention again. So thank you so much. Genuinely, thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. And I would love to know in the comments what your favorite music discoveries of 2021 were. So please go ahead and let me know, because I will read through all of them. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't done so. Thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, bye.